right, good Friday morning, everyone. We have some new patrons to welcome, 5 of them to be exact. Joining us now are Lisa Gray, Roberta Titchener, Jenny Robinson, Doug Holbrook, and Ken Howard. So those people are new to our videos this week. Thank you very much for supporting this endeavor, and I hope you're going to get a lot of value out of your subscription. I think you will. Let's talk about winners from last night. We had a lot of them at the RBC game. Over in the limited game, Al Brandt finished first. Good job, Al. Bob Koger was second, and the pair of Lynn Brown and Helen Krause was third. So listenership subscription to this to these videos took the gold, silver, and bronze in the limited game last night. Well done, guys. Over in the open, it should come as no surprise that Vladimir Stemkovsky, again, won East-West. He was second overall, and he and his wife, I believe he was playing with, actually finished 5th out of 195 pairs their direction for the common game. So that's great. That's a nice accomplishment. Also, Cindy Hinshaw finished 2nd north-south behind the Joyces. So that's great. There were, I think, 13 tables in play last night, so that's awesome. And Jim Rue was 4th east-west. So good job to Jim. Good job to all our winners. Everybody playing really well last night. So today, told you we'd talk about losing trick count. To be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of losing trick count content from last night, but I do have one hand that will illustrate it and illustrate another thing I want to talk about today. So we'll talk about that hand. We're going to go over the slide quickly on how to do your losing trick count and what the magic numbers are when we're using that evaluation tool. We're going to focus on a hand that was sent in by a listener that involves using Blackwood. We are going to talk about keeping parity with the dummy. Okay, and one thing I like to say is like with the dummy means with both hands. It's just you hear it most commonly referred to as with the dummy because that's the hand you can literally see. But one of the things that I want you to be working on is imagining what the closed hands are. So we'll talk about that. I'm going to implore you at some point to quit worrying about signals. Like we would all probably do better if we gave up the idea that we needed to be signaling everything and just used reason for a couple of sessions. Now, obviously, this might sound contradictory because I do talk about, having your cards have meaning. It's easy to get lost in relying on those as a crutch, though, and not just thinking through the basic logic of a bridge hand. So we'll talk about that. I have a note that on board 3, we need to rough a club exclamation point. I'll show you this hand. There was one declare in the field that I noticed who did not mess up this relatively easy hand. That was either Kay or Randy Joyce. But anyway, we'll talk about that hand in a minute. Let's go back to losing trick count for a second. So I'm going to put a slide up on the board here and do what Audrey told me not to do, which is read my slides. Let's talk about what losing trick count is for a second. It is a method where you take shapely hands, particularly those with a fit for your partner. You figure out how many losers there are in the hand, and you assign whether that's a forcing or invitational or single raise type hand based on that. So some magic numbers for losing trick count, like 7 losers is the minimum opening type hand. It's also the minimum type game forcing hand in response to an opener. So if we think about 2 minimum opening hands, usually want to be in game, and they would both have 7 losers in them. If you add those 2 numbers, it would be 14 for the partnership. And 14 for the partnership means that usually we want to be bidding a game if we've got a fit. So, that could work several different ways. It could be minimum opener opposite minimum game force, and that would be like 7 and 7. It could be an opener that has a little bit more than was necessary to open the bidding, something that looks like 6 losers. and you could put that opposite 8. 8 would be like a limit raise, like an invitational type raise by responder. It could look like, you know, what you might think of in high card points as 17 or 18 with a little bit of shape. Say opener's got 5 losers. Okay, that's 2 tricks better than what you might have opened the bidding with. And that could be paired with a responding hand that has single raise values. Something with 9 losers, something that like responds 2 spades to a 1 spade opener is normally going to have 9 losers. And then obviously if we think about 14 losers is going to tend to produce 10 tricks. You can do the same thing for hands that are in the slam zone, and those would usually have, you know, 2 fewer losers because we're at the 6th level instead of the 4 level. So those would look like, you know, 12 losers between the 2 hands. Now, this is all not to say that this is always going to work. Okay, most rules aren't always going to work. We could make up 2 hands that each have 6 losers in them, where you're off 3 cards, like where it's 3 small facing 3 small in one of the suits. So I don't want to hear about it when you come to me and you're like, Lance, we each had 6 losers, and you told us to bid a slam with that because we only had 12 losers, and then they just cashed the ace, king, queen of diamonds. No, it's not like that. Like, we still need control bidding. We still need to kind of figure out where our cards are. We still need tools like Blackwood. But this is a tool that would be used in marginal situations. So now I'm going to put up the slide. And I will tell you, like, even though losing trick count has some limitations, it has worked very, very well for me evaluating hands where I'm like, yeah, it's 12 points, but God, it looks like 8. And yeah, it's 7 points, but man, it looks like a game force. Using losing trick count as a tool in those types of situations has been really kind to me. Okay, here's the slide on that. And basically this is just to put a tack in this video for if you want to come back to review how to calculate that. It's just a maximum of 3 losers in each suit, and I highly recommend this adjustment thing where you are taking away half a loser for an ace and adding half a loser for a queen. Okay, so to wrap that all up, most useful when you are evaluating shapely hands with a fit for partner and you're deciding, is this more a forcing hand, an invitational hand, a single raise hand. The magic number is 7 for both opening and forcing to game as a responder once partner has opened. And if we think about the combined assets of the partnership, the magic number is 14 for bidding, say, 4 hearts or 4 spades. So that's the losing trick count talk. This is going to segue into a board that I want to talk about from last night, which I believe was board 1. So we're going to BBO at this point. And we're going to pull up last night's game. Okay, so yeah, it is board 1. And we'll throw this to the screen. Actually, let's see. I guess I should set up a teaching table, so that's under practice. Give me just a sec here. We're going to make sure we don't get bothered. We're going to sit down. We are going to go to our account settings and switch on. These need to go off to make our lives easier. We're going to sit down here and here and here and here. And now we're going to go back to this and throw this hand to the table. Okay, this is hand 1. And again, these videos on Friday mornings are going to tend to be focused on some examples from Thursday night that I find interesting. Thursday nights, I almost always play with John Cobb. So, you know, we almost always have some good stuff to talk about. So let's talk about both losing trick count and Blackwood on this hand. It's just going to be east-west bidding. Lately, I've been talking to people a little bit about 2/1. I think most people who are listening here are adopters of 2/1 at this point. let's talk about this a little bit. Like my partner bid 2 clubs here. And what that says is, partner, we're going to game and I have clubs. If you 2-over-1 in a minor, every once in a while, it's only a 4-card suit. If you 2-over-1 in hearts, that should always be a 5-card suit. But I guess the main selling point for 2-over-1 is we don't have to spend any of the rest of our resources in this auction figuring out whether or not we need to be in a game. Okay, so there's going to be no need to jump by either partner, and that's going to help us. You'll see that in a second. So like I've got a pretty good hand as East. It's 16 points. It's 5-4-2-2, which is semi-balanced. And let's do a losing trick count inventory on it. It's 1.5 spades, 1.5 hearts. Remember, the halves are coming from the fact that they've got queens. It's 1 club and it's 1 diamond. So I think that comes up to 5, which means that actually I'm 2 tricks better than I might be for opening the bidding. And if you kind of picture, well, like, what's that mean? What if we turned like the king, queen of spades into the 5-3? Okay, that's sort of the same thing as taking 2 tricks away from this hand. And it would be a hand that I still would open, I believe. It's certainly gotten a lot cheesier. Maybe we take away like the king of clubs and one of the big spades. And that's still a hand that you would open, even though you've got 2 fewer cards in essence now. But anyway, remember, one of the cool things about 2-over-1, we have no anxiety about jumping here. We can just bid our shapes and be confident in the fact that this train doesn't stop below 3-no trump. Anything below 3-no trump is forcing. Anything beyond 3-no trump that's not a game contract is forcing. My partner can just back this up with 2 spades at this point. And now look at this auction. Like, we know that spades are trump. We know that we're in a game force, and we have all this room left between where we are now, 2 spades, and where the bus stops in 4 spades, which is 10 bids down the road, right? It's 2 levels higher. There's 5 things you can bid. So there are 9 steps in between where we are now and where our destination is if we determine that we don't have slam values. That's a pretty good bargain. All right, so we passed, and I made kind of the cheapest descriptive bid I could make. I considered bidding 3 clubs here, but I didn't really want to do that without 3-card support. I do know at this point that the king of clubs is rating to be a very, very nice card. Like, the king of clubs here is, I realize I've got both of them, but the king of clubs is worth triple what the king of diamonds is worth here. And again, just going to beat that horse of you've got to evaluate your hands dynamically. You can't just say something is a 16 count. It's not descriptive enough. All right, so I bid 2-no, and like I say, 2 reasons there. It's the cheapest bid. It's a descriptive bid. It lets partner know I've got diamonds stopped probably, and it lets him do, whatever he wants. And at this point, it's out past. He bid 3 clubs, and if he hated his hand for slam purposes at this point, he would do something that ate up more space. Like, he could just bid 4 spades if he hated what was going on. But 3 clubs here, we're already starting to probe for slam. Okay, when this came back to me, I decided, timeout. Okay, back. That was just me spilling coffee on my keyboard there. Awesome. All right, so we're back to the East hand here. And make sure I'm recording. Yes, I'm recording. Okay, good. I decided at this point, look, I'm 2 tricks better than I might be. We have a fit. My partner has a game force. If we go back and think about losing trick count, what he said in losing trick count ease about his hand is that he has 7 losers or fewer. We've established that fit. I have 5 losers. Combined, the partnership should have no more than 12. That's slam zone. I don't have any suit where I'm off 2 quick tricks. Like, right? The lead's going to be coming into my hand, and I have all 4 kings. So there's no suit where the opponents are going to be able to cash the first 2 tricks. And really, all I want to know about partner's hand at this point is, how many aces you got? Okay, so I could just ask that. I guess we're not in person anymore, so I can't literally ask that. But it turns out we have a tool to ask partner how many aces have you got. That's Blackwood. John and I are using 1430, so he bid 5 diamonds. It went double by the north hand. Get partner off to a diamond lead. And I just bid 6 spades here. I've heard enough. So let's talk about the 4-no trump bid. Some things that I made sure were going on before I made that. First of all, we are in the general vicinity where slam is going to be reasonable. And I checked that with losing trick count. I've got 5, he's got 7. A very important thing that was true here is that I'm not off 2 quick tricks. And another thing that's important is I know what to do with his answer. That's key. If he shows up with 3 key cards, which he has here, I'm going to bid 6 spades. If he shows up with 4, I'm probably going to bid 7 spades. And if he shows up with fewer than 3, we're going to play 5 spades. And he really shouldn't have 0 or 1 for this type of auction, where he's made a 2/1. I'm soaking up all the kings, and he's made a slam move with 3 clubs. Like, there's just no hand that would do that where he's got 0 or 1 aces. So 4-no trump here is kind of like it's just an inventory assessment to make sure that we have the requisite number of aces. It turns out we do, and this is a pretty easy hand. Like, if the trumps behave, and by behave I mean they're either 3-2 or we can actually cater to north having jack 4th, we have plenty of tricks, right? We have the 3 top hearts, we have 5 clubs, and we have 5 spades for 10. And importantly, I am the one who's declaring the spades, and therefore they can't catch the first 2 diamonds. Okay, so that's how you would use Blackwood and losing trick count on this hand. And if we go to like the other tables, I see we get an 83% for it, which means that only a third of the field bid this slam. There were 13 tables, sorry. And why is this not working? Okay, there we go. Yeah, we had 3 tables bidding 6 spades and 1 table bidding 6 now. And there's nothing to the play. You just cross your fingers that the trumps aren't breaking poorly. And certainly the odds are in your favor that they're not going to be. So anyway, it's a pretty high percentage slam, somewhere in the 75–80% range. Let's talk about the spade suit again for just a second. I went past that quickly, but this is kind of an important card combination. The ace third opposite the king, queen, 10 fifth. When you play this suit, assuming that there's no other jobs that you've got to worry about entries for or something like that, be careful that on the second round of the suit, the second round of the suit should be the ace, such that if south shows out, leaving north with jack and 1 left, you will still have a card to lead towards the queen 10. Okay, so you're going to run into this suit sometimes in your bridge careers, and the key is you want to be able to lead the third round from the west side towards the high honor 10 remaining on the east side. If it turns out south is the one with jack 4th, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, so again, like, call back to previous video from this week, which is we only worry about the things that we can cater to, and the other stuff like south having jack 4th, the trumps here, is just you throw that in the unfortunate things that I can't do anything about bin. All right, so we did that. Where are we going now? Let's go to keep parity and quit worrying about signals. I believe I saved this hand under my deal archives for February 19th Patreon. Let's see. Yeah, let's bring that up to the table. All right, so this is a hand from yesterday morning. I played 4 spades from the south side. We'll go ahead and give you an auction just because, well, we can, I guess. I opened a no trump with south. My partner transferred to spades. Remember to put your explanation in here. It's 2 characters, exclamation point, lowercase s, when you bid 2 hearts. I bid 2 spades. It gave me a choice of games with 3 no, and I bid 4 spades. And I'm going to give you an opening lead and ask you to count the tricks here. She led a diamond, a 4th best diamond. That's not true. She led a trump. Okay, let's get that out of there. She led a trump. Count your tricks. Okay, we're going to count them from the long trump holding perspective, which is 5 spades. Ace king of diamonds is 7. Ace king of clubs is 9. And we have other possibilities in that, like the diamonds might break 3-3. And both finesses of queens might work. So, I mean, if everything broke right here, like say queen 3rd was in the pocket means finessable, like sitting in front of the ace jacks, we could potentially have all 13 tricks here, given that they haven't led hearts. Like they could have cashed the first 2 hearts, but of course the opening leader is not going to lead hearts looking at ace queen. Anyway, the point of this hand is at some point when I play my trumps, and this is a trump pulling hand because you don't need South's trumps to dispose of any of North's losers. So I can go ahead and pull the trumps at tricks 1 through 3 here. When you are East in this situation, your first pitch should be a heart. Okay, you know that there's only 2 hearts in the dummy. What you don't know is that there might be 4 clubs sitting on your left. So my opponent's first pitch actually was a club, and look what that does for Declare. It sets up 4 club tricks that weren't there otherwise. And Declare ends up with 4 clubs, 3 diamonds, 5 spades for making 12 and a really good score. Like left to her own devices, Declare can't take more than 10 tricks here, right? 3 clubs, 3 diamonds, and 5 spades, right? But when you pitch a club from that East hand, you're violating the key principle, which is keep parity with, and again, what you always hear the tip stated as is keep parity with the dummy, but you need to be keeping parity with Declare's hand too. You know that this heart suit is safe to pitch, right? There's only 2 hearts in the dummy, and it's a trump contract, okay? I mean, if Declare has the ace queen, she's going to take a successful finesse. If she has the ace, she's going to get 1 trick. If she has the queen, she's going to get 0 tricks because that means your partner has the ace. So heart pitch here is completely safe, club pitch very dangerous, and it actually ended up costing this East about a half of a board on this one. I think making 6 was something like 95%, whereas making 5 would have been, I don't know, 55, 60%. So I guess not quite half a board. But guys, the number 1 rule of defense is keep parity. Like that takes precedence over signaling. And oh, right, here's my quick rant on signaling. Quit using signaling as a crutch. Take tricks is the important thing, and deprive them of their ability to take tricks. Keep parity. That is so much more important than anything else on defense. Okay, so quit using signals as a crutch. Logic and reason are the things you ought to be using when defending a bridge hand, and too many people are using signals and trying to decipher the opponent's discards as a crutch for actually thinking about the hand. Okay, end rant. So that's keeping parity with the dummy. And let's see what else we want to talk about. I think it's time to get to our user sent in hand from today. And I believe I created this here. Yeah, so let's go to this and then call it a day. I got a lot of stuff to say about this hand. It went pass and East opens a heart. And if we do a losing trick count inventory on this, it's not many, right? It's 2 spades, it's 1.5 hearts, and it's half a club. So we are looking at a hand that is 3 tricks better from an offensive perspective than an opening hand might be. And again, I'm going to caution you not to use losing trick count too much for deciding how high to go in the bidding until you've found a fit with your partner. But if we're talking about like trying to determine if we want to open a shapely hand or not, it's a reasonable tool. And here we have, you know, if we're talking in terms of high card points, it's 12. But if we're talking in terms of losers, it's 4, which is 3 full tricks better than you might have. So if we find a heart or a club fit here, like we are probably off to the races. So what actually happened at this table is that South bid 2 diamonds. Our heroes here were sitting east-west. They wanted to know a little bit about how to bid this hand. But like, look, this isn't a 2 diamond call. It's maybe a 3 diamond call. You could talk me into 4 diamonds, maybe, I suppose, and those would both be preemptive. But this is just, it's not a 2 diamond call. However, like my lesson here is, and especially again, like the worse your opponents are, the less seriously you should take the things they do, because they're just going to be out of their minds some of the time. Like obviously this isn't a 2 diamond call, but you can't get, it's a little bit like worrying too much about what the opponent's signals or discards mean. Like you do you. Trust your partner, trust the person sitting across the table. And I realize now that I'm saying it, like maybe this sounds contradictory to dynamically evaluating and trying to picture what's going on around you. But like when you're sitting west here and your partner's opened a heart and they overcalled 2 diamonds on your right, like my reaction to this is like, yeah, whatever. You don't have your call. Okay, like what could they possibly have? Ace king of clubs, queen jack, 7th of diamonds, something. I guess, but it's like it's only 1 trick of defense against whatever number of hearts we're going to eventually be bidding. So if I were west here, I would just go ahead and bid Blackwood. My hand is gigantic opposite a 1 heart opener. And it turns out the things I'm worried about are the ace of clubs, excuse me, the ace of clubs, the ace queen of hearts, and maybe later on the king of spades. And guess what? I have a convention that gets me all of those things. I can ask my partner how many of those cards she's got. And I don't think there's any reason to make this auction any muddier. So it would just go 4-0 Trump. And we'll backtrack in a second and talk about what actually happened. But I would just go ahead and bid 4-0 with the West hand. Again, I don't have any suits where the opponents can cash 2 tricks. And perhaps more importantly, I know what to do with any answer my partner gives. Okay, if she says that she has 1 key card, I'm going to ask her if she has the queen, and we're either going to be in 6 or we're going to stop in 5. If she has 2 key cards, she's going to be able to tell me whether she's got the queen or not, and we'll either be in 6 hearts or 7 hearts. Yeah, if she has 0, I guess I'm going to be confused, but we're still below 5 hearts, so we can still play 5 hearts. And it ought to be they just cash the ace of hearts and the ace of clubs, and we're safe at the 5 level. So I'm not off 2 quick losers, and I know what to do with any answer that partner gives. I think I would just bid 4-0. My partner's going to show 2 key cards without the queen of hearts, and I'm going to bid 6 hearts and probably get a reasonably, I mean, I wouldn't expect a top board because I think people are going to be able to bid the slam in general, but I would expect like 65% of the match points, something like that. And you know what 22 consecutive 65% boards will get you? It'll get you a trophy at the end of the night. So I'm happy anytime a board wants to reach down from the heavens and hand me 65%. I say sold, and we move on to board number 2. All right. So anyway, that's the way I would have bid it. What happened was, and again, like this isn't necessarily wrong. I just don't think it's the best, like clearest, most actionable, to the point action. But West bid 3 diamonds, and this says, partner, I have at least an invitational hand with heart support for you, and that's certainly true. I think West knew enough to just take over and bid Blackwood, but 3 diamonds is fine. And it went past, and like as East here, you should be super excited because you have 4 losers. We already counted those. And if we think about what an invite means, it means 8 or fewer losers. The 3 diamond bid here is, partner, I have at least 3 hearts for you, and I have at least invitational values. So at this point, East knows A, there's at least a 9-card heart fit, and B, from a losing trick count perspective, we are definitely in the slam zone because we have 4 and our partner has 8 or maybe even fewer, right? And it turns out she's even got fewer. She's got like 4.5. We've got just tons of tricks here, it turns out. Anyway, what we can't do, I mean, we can do anything we want. We paid our entry fee. But what you shouldn't do, perhaps, here as East is bid Blackwood. For 2 reasons, I suppose. Or they're kind of 2 different ways of saying the same thing. We don't know that we're not off the first 2 spade tricks, for instance. Like maybe our partner's got the ace of diamonds, the king, queen of hearts, the queen, jack of clubs, and she's got 2 quick spade losers. So if the answer came back, 2 here, we wouldn't know what to do with it. Because those 2 could be the king of hearts and the ace of diamonds, where the opponents cash the first 2 spades. Those 2 could be the ace of spades and the king of hearts, and we're just cold for a grand slam some of the times. We basically don't know what to do with the answer that we get. So I think psychologically people realize that they're in the slam zone and do some combination of freaking out and not knowing what to do, and 4-no trump hits the table. So I'd like to disabuse you of that and instead make some other kind of helpful slam try. What I would suggest with the East hand here is bid 4 diamonds. Realize that anything other, like here's what your bids mean. If East bids 3 hearts, that's a sign-off. That's a bad hand. If you just have the invitational, remember West bid is invitational plus. If you just have the invite, I don't have anything extra. In losing trick count terms, I have 7 losers, okay? In order for us to bid anything further on this hand, you need to have the or better part, but I'm bidding 3 hearts to let you out in case that you don't, okay? The other thing you could do is bid 4 hearts, which would be more encouraging, right? It would be indicative of a hand that had maybe 6 losers or fewer in it, but it would also say like, my hand's good enough to bid game, but it's not good enough to pre-cooperate with any sort of slam investigation, okay? Which leaves the other bids, 3 spades, 4 clubs, 4 diamonds. Those should be what's called advanced Q bids, and they are trying to cooperate with a slam try. Logically, they have to be slam tries, right? You've committed your partnership to a game without just bidding it. So as East, I would Q bid 4 diamonds here. That diamond void rates to be, like, it turns out my partner doesn't care about the diamond void because she's got ace king of diamonds, but across the number of hands that could be happening here, the diamond void is perhaps the most slam positive, interesting piece of information that East can share here. If you wanted to Q bid 4 clubs, I'm okay with that too. Like, realize that once West bids 3 diamonds, any new suits by us are Q bids or game tries or slam tries. They aren't literally offers to play a new suit or a different suit as trumps. All right, so you could go 4 diamonds, and now West is back in the same ballpark where, she can bid Blackwood. Really, having received no extra information from the first round of the bidding, we kind of just killed some time in between, in between places where we could have bid 4 no trump. And you'll notice here on these 2 hands, a grand slam is excellent. Like, all that needs to happen for a grand slam is first of all, like, the opponents one of them would have to have queen third of trump, and you would have to misguess, right? Because we get to guess which opponent has queen third of trumps by either laying down the ace or the king first. And if we guess right, we can even handle queen third of trumps. So if you count the tricks, 6 heart tricks, ace of spades, ace king of clubs, ace king of diamonds, we are up to 11, and we can rough 2 clubs in the shorthand. It's just 13, throw it against a wall, as the British would say. All right, so I think that's, right, one more rant. Okay, so that's thank you for sending in that hand. Um, that's my take on that board. Let's look at one more hand here. It's board 3 from last night. Go back to my history tab. And guys, like, this one shocked me. Like, I realized that most people are just pulling trumps way too prematurely, but here is a simple hand that everyone, like literally everyone except Randy and Kay, got this wrong that I saw. I looked at like 10 different tables and they all did the same mistake. So let's export this to the table. And by the way, too, like when I'm beating up people or whatever it is that I'm doing to everyone not named the Joyces at this point, like realize I do dumb stuff all the time too. I mean, I try and include some of it in these videos so that you will realize like this is a hard game. I'm pretty good at it and I just make mistakes constantly. But this one, I mean, this is super avoidable. Imagine playing 4 spades or any number of spades from the south hand. I think the auction that we faced, and again, John and I were sitting east-west here. I think it went a spade. Oh, let's use our losing trick count thing. South has 2.5, 3, 4 losers. That's a really good hand. North has one of those hands I was talking about earlier where it's like, it looks like it's a little bit of a point count trap because, and you'll notice like the common characteristic of point count trap hands are that they are flat hands. Okay, shape goes a long way. So North has 2.5 spade losers, 2.5 diamonds is 5, 3 clubs is 8, and 1.5 hearts is 9.5, which is actually half a loser more than we might have for the auction to go like a spade, 2 spades. That being said, I think this is a textbook 2 spade bid. And with that in mind, South realizes she can bid 4 spades. Again, if we're thinking about it from a losing trick count perspective, we already ascertained she had 4. A raise to 2 spades is indicative of 9. Add those 2 numbers together is 13, which is less than 14, which means we should be bidding a game. It's more than 12, which means we're out of the slam zone. So this auction just goes a spade, 2 spades, 4 spades. Everybody's going to lead the queen of hearts here. And you need to, please, guys, if there's one thing you take from this video, if there's one thing you take from me running my mouth, count your tricks. That is the number one thing. Not pull trump as fast as I possibly can. If your reaction to this dummy coming down is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I got to pull the trumps right away, you are doing it wrong. Okay, so back to counting tricks. Ace of hearts, 1. Ace, king of clubs, 3. Once we knock out a diamond, we're going to have 4, and we have 5 spades. So unless our opponents mess up and like, say, take the ace of diamonds on air, which would let us score both the queen and the king of diamonds, we've only got 9 tricks. Okay, and there's not really a 10th one in view, except that we could ruff a club in the shorthand for 10. So guys, this is how this play should go. You can afford to pull 1 round of trump, because what's going to happen is we're going to lose the lead once in clubs. They could return a trump at that point, and we still need to have a trump left in the dummy to ruff the 4th round of clubs. Or the clubs could just be 3-3, in which case, you know, everything's fine too. At trick 2, you can play a spade. And now we need to play clubs. No more trumps. If we play 1 more round of trumps, what's going to happen when they win the queen of clubs? If they're good defenders, they're going to return the 3rd trump, and all of a sudden you're going to have no place to park the 4 of clubs. Okay, so at this point, we bang out ace, king of clubs. I'm not worried that the clubs aren't 4-2 or 3-3 for one thing. If West had a singleton, he would have let it. For another thing, if there's a bunch of shape sitting out there against us, it's very likely we would have heard the opponent's bidding. So in an auction like this, like it's almost a sure thing that the clubs are going to be 4-2 or 3-3. We concede the 3rd round of clubs. This guy should just be pitching probably. Go ahead and pitch an encouraging diamond, I suppose. And now, if East returns a trump, it doesn't matter what East does, but if East returns a trump, we still have a trump left in the dummy to take care of our club. Because that's going to be, we'll go ahead and click through them, I suppose. It's important to rough with the jack here too, just in case the 7 is on your left and he's out of diamonds. You can afford the jack here. The 7 is the only card left. Don't be lazy and rough with the 6 and get it over roughed with the 7. That's lazy. And so we've got 8, and we can actually just claim 2 of the last 3 for 10. You have to count your tricks. Stop drawing trump right away. Like sometimes it's right. On that very first hand I showed you it was right, but it's not necessarily the case. And here was a hand where, like, literally in my sampling, 95% of the field went wrong. It's the simplest hand in the world. And maybe the jack of clubs is providing like some sort of red herring, because it looks like, you know, maybe I could lead up to the club jack, but like, picture the 5-3 deuce of clubs in the dummy. I think that would actually be less confusing. Then it would be easier to see, oh yeah, I just rough a club. But you can't rough a club if you've pulled 3 rounds of trumps. All right, sermon over. We've talked about a lot of things today. Some of these videos are going to be longer than others. You can give me feedback as to which you like. Again, it felt like there was a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, so I went ahead and went a little bit overboard. We welcomed our new members. Again, that's Lisa, Roberta, Jenny, Doug, Ken. Thank you. We talked about a lot of winners. The first, second, and third place pairs in the limited game last night are all patrons. That's awesome. Cindy, Vladimir, and Jim did well in the open game. Vladimir especially 5th out of 195 nationwide in the common game. And then the tips for today are when to use Blackwood, 1430. How to apply losing trick count, what the magic numbers are there. I let you look at the slide. Count your tricks, keep parity with the dummy. Again, if this is Family Feud, Blackwood, keep parity with the dummy, count your tricks. What's the last one? Losing trick count. Okay, guys, have a wonderful weekend. I'll be back with a probably shorter video on Monday. And again, thanks for all the support. Let's keep growing this community. Hope you guys have a very good weekend, and I will talk to you soon. And so long for now.